Indianapolis Motor Speedway here on a Monday. Query & Company, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us. And joining us now, the guy that will lead the field for the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race, Scott McLaughlin. And, Scott, that's a tall order when I say it that way, right? You're going to have 32 cars behind you, which I guess beats the alternative. But Congratulations on your pole run.
Thank you, Jake. Unreal. Just a huge day. I can't really remember much of the pole run, apart from the sort of final lap through 1 and 2. It was definitely just skating and it was getting quite loose, but just you got to keep your foot flat, and that's a very proud moment.
You know, it's funny because as I was watching the run, I was wondering to myself, I wonder how much more, and maybe you guys are constantly playing with this too, how much more can you take out of the car?
Yeah.
If you had to guess, how much more was there, or were you pretty much on the edge?
I think I was pretty close. I mean, maybe a little bit. Like every time you can think about things that you could do better, but I felt like I was just so in control of the car and where my tools were going, my weight jacker and my anti-roll bar levers, and really thinking ahead of the lap and conserving those tyres. I made a change to my line yesterday morning, just from what I saw from Will and Joseph on qualifying day, and it really helped me. One, it changed the balance of my car throughout the run, and also it helped me just keep the speed up for a big first lap. And both the runs in Fast 12 and Fast 6, I had big first laps.
So, Scott McLaughlin, I don't know much about cars, admittedly, right? Yep. I know how to call them on the racetrack, but I don't know. I'm not a gearhead, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Now, my understanding is with the engines, they have this thing called a plenum. Now, you tell me if my failing science and math classes, if I'm close here, okay? Yep. So when you're at top speed in your engine, there is a mechanism on the top of it that takes air out of different areas of the engine and can mix it with fuel to create extra boost. Mm-hmm. But if that gets imbalanced, it can create a small fire where it's then smart enough to shut itself off for a second.
Yep. It's like a backfire.
Okay.
Yeah, like an old carburetor.
And we've seen that happen. Do you know when it's happening? And what do you do?
No, the best thing you can do is let go of the throttle all the way off and then straight back on. Okay. But obviously you lose time.
But only for like a split second, right?
Yes, but normally it happens on a gear change. That's normally the time. So that's why a lot of the Chevy cars yesterday went to single-speed gears. So I just ran fifth gear the whole time.
So that theoretically then tells me that there's even more speed in the car, right?
Well, no, because you stack the gears. You know, my fifth gear was my sixth gear kind of thing.
I see what
but that's just how it works. If you go any faster, like if my speed had crept up, sure, I would have grabbed the gear, but then I wouldn't have been in the appropriate rev range in the middle of the corner. So fifth gear was the peak of the rev range and where the power of the engine was.
Is it a race concern? I mean, it has to be like in the back of your mind, right? Of like, gosh, what if it happens on 198?
Yeah, I mean, it always is a concern, but I think it's particularly at those boost levels, that's where we don't get to test a huge amount with the Chevy guys and whatnot. So a lot of your testing is done on Fast Friday. And they were trying to push the limit. Honda was trying to push the limit. Chevy maybe pushed it a bit far, but then brought it back a little bit, or at least gave us some guidance on what we should do, whether we should go to a single speed like we did or something like that. And I'm not too worried about it. It for sure can happen in the race, no doubt. And it has happened to me here, but like that's just sometimes it's just the way it is with these engines.
Did this offset by winning the pole yesterday, Scott McLaughlin, getting out of the Pennzoil, the yellow submarine, which is such a famous paint scheme and legendary, and Roger Penske, and then you get out of the car? Did that offset the fact that the New York Knicks lost?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Yes.
For those that don't know, you are a big New York Knicks fan.
Yeah,
and tell me again the origin of your Knick fandom.
So I was maybe 3 or 4. My mum and dad went to New York when I was in New Zealand. And they brought me back a Knicks jumper, jersey. And I was infatuated with basketball from a young age. NBA was one of the only American sports on the TV.
So this is an organic fandom.
For sure.
It's not like you just picked them up a year ago.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Oh, I've been an NBA fan or basketball fan for a long time. I've had a basketball court in or hoop in my backyard and all that stuff. And then I married a girl from New York, and that wasn't by choice. That was just like it just happened, and she was a Knicks fan, and like obviously that just heightens everything. My first game was at MSG, which was amazing. My first live NBA game, something that I've always wanted to do, and that was 9 years ago. Been through some hard times with the Knicks, but it was amazing that they were playing the Pacers in Indy. I was able to go to game 3, and that was Nembhard had that big three.
Yeah.
Like it was a killer. But what an amazing scene. But I love giving the Pacers fans a little bit of stick.
Okay, so here's the thing.
But I don't want the Celtics to win. So I'm a big Pacers guy now. I hate the Celtics.
You would have to, right? If you're a Knicks fan.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so but the unfortunate thing is, I'm assuming you can't go to Game 3 between the. Now maybe you. Well, I don't know. I mean, you got Pacers and Racers, right? So you got Pacers games on Saturday and Monday, and then the race on Sunday. So you're going to have the victory celebration on Monday, right? So you're probably out of the mix there. And then Saturday night, you got to be in bed early, right?
Yeah, no. I'll watch it at home. I will. But I think I'd feel a little bit weird going to a Pacers game and supporting the Pacers when I was just actively cheering against them. So, and that's no disrespect to Indiana, but it's just who I am.
So, but deep down, just tell me this for our listeners. Yeah. You can at least appreciate what the Pacers did, right?
Oh, it's amazing. What a young team.
And the same for New York, right?
No, absolutely.
I mean, great series.
Great series. Tyrese was unreal. I just think we just absolutely got out of their depth. We didn't have, the people that we needed at the right time. I mean, Brunson hurt his hand yesterday, but when I got out of the car off the pole, Carly was telling me the Knicks are down by 12, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. But that was probably the downer of the day. But look, I think we just ran out of depth. But the Pacers, put up an extreme fight, and it's amazing. If we could have won that Game 3, I think it would have changed a lot of things. But props, you got to win when it counts, and Pacers got it done.
Nembhard had basically the car completely trimmed out when he threw up that 35-footer.
5 points, and he got the 3 at the end. No one, and everyone will forget about that. He had a terrible game, but he was so good at the end, and it was a pleasure to be there. It sucked for a Knicks fan, and the stick I was getting on the way out, but I respect it, and hopefully next year we can have another good series.
Scott, you've raced in 14 ovals in your career, 5 podium appearances during those races, but the Indy 500 itself is a different animal, the greatest spectacle in racing. At what point in your life did you realize just how big this thing is?
It wasn't until I got here. You watch it on TV in Australia at 2 a.m. and you only see the race, really. You wake up when the race starts because it's just 1 as early. You don't realize the festivities, the Memorial Day weekend, how important it is for America, the patriotism, everything like that. And it's emotional. It's an amazing feeling, amazing day being on that grid when the silence for the troops, the national anthem back home in Indiana, the song there, it's amazing, and I think that's when you realize you grow a newfound respect for the traditions and America in general, and the day that you get to race, and the privilege that you have to race because people are sacrificing for you, and this is a race that makes me want to be a U.S. citizen. My wife's a U.S. citizen. I'm a green card holder, and you have a day like this and you just want to be an American.
Will you go through that process?
I want to, yeah, for sure. They have a induction or...
I saw you posted that, right?
Yeah. So naturalization ceremony here at the Speedway, and that's something that I'd love to be a part of at the Speedway, do my naturalization for America here one day. But... it's something that's for sure in the next couple of years I'd like to do.
And I don't know the answer, so pardon my naivete here, Scott McLaughlin, but if you did that, would you then get dual citizenship, or do you have to relinquish?
Yeah, no. I can be a New Zealand citizen passport holder as well as a U.S. citizenship. Okay. Yeah.
Now, this is the first time since 1988 that your team, Roger Penske's team, has had the entire front row, which is pretty cool. But it obviously has been a tumultuous couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Can you just take us through the challenges, I guess, that have been created within the team and how you guys have responded?
Yeah, no doubt. When your integrity and your reputation is put into question, not only just for Roger, but myself and Joseph and everyone, it's tough. But the best thing you can do is just come out fighting. And for me, initially it was tell my truth, tell the mistake I made. Hopefully people understand it, but it's also okay if they don't. And I understand if they think I'm a cheat or they think our team's a cheat, but that's their opinion and you can't change people's opinion. Right. So, but the only thing that doesn't affect how I perform after that. You be at peace with the mistake you made and the explanation you've given, and then you just got to get on with it.
I think it speaks a little for the depth of the team. Not to sit here and try to spin it, but when you have people that are not around, Tim Cindric, for example, that are not around for the couple of weeks that you're here, and yet the team performs to that level, it kind of defines next man up to it.
I mean, Roger says it all the time, our human capital is our most important resource, and I think the depth of our team is amazing, like you said. For Jonathan Duguid to step in, be strategist for car 2. We've got 3 other guys that are amazing people that have stepped in and helped the team and shown that we can still put 3 fast cars on the front row at the biggest race of the year. And that's no mean feat. It's tough to do, and we're the last team to do that, and that was in '88. It's crazy. So that was an amazing day for Roger yesterday, and after I know he took it very hard. The last month or so, and all he's doing is looking forward, and that's what we're focused on.
Indy 500 pole winner Scott McLaughlin is our guest. Scott, Jake asks this of drivers all the time. Which turn in your mind is the hardest?
Yesterday it was 1 and 2. It just depends on the wind. Yesterday we had a tailwind through 1 and 2, so it was a crosswind. So I had to set up the car differently end to end. 3 and 4 was a little bit easier, but I vividly remember on my last lap through 1 and 2, I don't think I really turned the wheel. It was just sliding the whole way. But it changes lap to lap. Is that true? For sure. Yeah. You've got to really think. So I knew that it was probably going to build to that looseness on lap 2, but it was about a matter of me tuning the car, changing my weight jacker and stuff to make sure I preserved the tires so I could keep that average speed up.
Do you ever just chill out? When you're driving, no. Are you working the whole time?
The whole time. You're thinking about everything. As soon as I come off turn 2, I'm pushing my weight jacker, I'm resetting my tools, I'm changing them for 3 and 4. You're constantly thinking. I was in a trance, man. There was that very, 4 minutes or whatever. I really can't remember much. The only thing I remember is being literally sliding through 1 and 2 on the last lap.
Did you notice Kyle Larson's helicopter as you were coming out of two?
No.
I took a picture of it. I'm like, wait a minute. Here's Larson's watching, and he's got to be thinking to himself, that car's really fast.
He must have had Wi-Fi on the plane because he texted me literally straight after my run. So so cool. What a badass that guy is. He's it's so awesome that he's doing what he's doing. It's great for IndyCar. Great.
You know him well?
I played golf with him the other night, so it was good just to talk to him a little bit about everything. I feel like I'm kind of an old stock car racer, so I kind of get what he's going through. But it's been cool getting to know him a bit better.
Okay, lastly, when you start in the front row, Scott McLaughlin, our guest, the pole sitter for the Indy 500, you are flanked obviously by your teammates in Will Power and Joseph Newgarden, and then Kyle Larson's right up there with you guys up towards the front. Do you talk to, this is a proverbial question every year, but do you talk to the other guys around you to kind of get an idea how to handle the start? How do you maneuver that to make sure that everybody's clean by the time you get to me in 3?
The best place I've started is 14th. I've never started this far at the front, so I don't really know how it works, but I know what I can do from the front. At the end of the day, I'm setting the pace, so it's a matter of me probably just taking the lead into turn 1 and just seeing how it goes. You can't preempt anything out here. It's all instinctive. Indy is just a different beast from maybe at a different race you might think about it, but here you've just got to.
Do you get nervous?
Oh yeah. If I'm not nervous, I'm worried. But I'm worried about why am I not nervous? So but every race, but particularly this one, I'll be very nervous.
Okay, the most unprofessional thing that I do every year, but I allow myself. This is the one place where I allow it, and I make this offer every year, and so I'm going to throw it to you, and then you're going to be obligated to say yes. But David Hovis, who you work with at Penske, is aware of this, but I have a helmet that is signed by every living winner of the Indianapolis 500, plus Bobby and Al Unser, because they both unfortunately have passed since they signed it. But there are, I believe, 35 winners on the helmet that have signed it. It eventually will go to the Speedway Museum, but you are obligated to sign it should you take the checkered flag on Sunday.
Well, let's hope I can do that.
You'll sign it, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, my God. That's amazing. But let's just do it first.
That's right. A lot of work to be done between now and then. Scott McLaughlin, I appreciate it. Sorry about your New York Knicks. Go Pacers.
Go Pacers.
Best of luck in the Indy 500.
Boo Celtics.
All right, we will continue here. Final practice day for the 108th running of the Indy 500 is Friday, Carb Day, but second to last, the penultimate. Right now, we'll be back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.